New reporting from The Intercept indicates that the Biden White House is quietly calling on UN Security Council nations to reject the Palestinian Authority's application to become a full member of the international body. Now, doing so would mean that the UN would recognize Palestine as a state, something that Biden claims he's in favor of, but apparently not really. So according to The Intercept, the United States is lobbying nations to reject such membership, hoping to avoid an overt veto by Washington. The lobbying effort, revealed in copies of unclassified State Department cables obtained by The Intercept, is at odds with the Biden administration's pledge to fully support a two-state solution. So in 2012, the UN General Assembly did in fact pass a resolution granting Palestine the status of a non-member observer state. But let's keep it real, that's kind of like non-binding because it's the general UN, when in reality, the sausage gets made, the real decisions get made with the UN Security Council. Now, while clarifying that President Joe Biden has worked vigorously to support Palestinian aspirations for statehood within the context of a comprehensive peace that would resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a diplomatic cable dated April 12th details US talking points against a UN vote for Palestinian statehood. The cable says that the Security Council members must be persuaded to reject any proposal for Palestinian statehood, which would amount to its recognition as a sovereign nation. And we can't have that. We can't have that. Before the Council's open debate on the Middle East, which is scheduled for today, April 18th. So it remains the US view that the most expeditious path toward a potential horizon for the Palestinian people is in the context of a normalization agreement between Israel and its neighbors, the cable reads. We believe this approach can tangibly advance Palestinian goals in a meaningful and enduring way. We therefore urge you not to support any potential Security Council resolution recommending the admission of Palestine as a UN member state, should such a resolution be presented to the Security Council for a decision in the coming days and weeks.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. I'm gonna tell you how Ecuador comes into play here in a second, because that part of the story is amazing and interesting. But first, to be fair, there's a couple of different ways to get to a two-state solution. And so Biden could be in favor of doing it through negotiations, but not necessarily in favor of doing it through the United Nations.
Right.
Okay, and there's a third way, which actually is what Biden is pushing, and that is actually the most disingenuous way. What they're pushing for is pacts between Israel and other Arab nations not involving the Palestinians, and they say that that's gonna get to peace. That's actually the exact opposite. What Israel did in the peace deal with Egypt is they got Egypt, the biggest military in the region, off the board and not helping the Palestinians. And so this same thing with the Abraham Accords. The idea was get UAE and some couple of other countries off the board so they're no longer attached to, hey, we're gonna have bilateral relations if you get rid of the occupation. That is all the Arab countries one by one selling out the Palestinians and saying, don't worry about it, let's just make money and who cares about the Palestinians. So when Biden says that that's the path to get them a state, that's just not true at all. It's the exact opposite path. So now, should the United States be in favor of giving the Palestinians a state through the United Nations? Of course, that's exactly how Israel did it. And remember at the time, Jewish folks in that area were about a third of the population, and they got 55% of the land. And the UN just declared it. And America said, yes, wonderful, awesome. Of course, a third of the population should get more than half the land, and that's it. The Palestinians have no voice, they should shut up. And then the Nakba happened, where they drove thousands of Palestinian villages off of the land that used to be theirs. And so that is how Israel was formed. This would be way better. It wouldn't have the Nakba, etc. It would just say Palestine is a state like any other state. They don't get to drive the Jews out of their villages, etc., as happened in the creation of Israel. They don't get to do anything wrong or illegal. We're doing the same thing we did for Israel, but actually way more fair. And this is the most important part, guys. So you could tell who's genuinely worried about terrorism and who's genuinely, and by the way, I say that, but I say that towards the leaders. In terms of actual human beings, there are a lot of people who are actually worried about terrorism, 100%. And most Israelis actually think, oh, I'm worried about terrorism, I'm worried about my safety, etc. But for the leaders, they say they're worried about terrorism, then they turn around and go, no, I don't want them to do it through diplomacy either. Okay, so you won't let them do it through peaceful actions, you won't let them do it through diplomacy, you won't let them do it in the same exact way you did it. And then you won't, and when they do violence, you go, oh, dirty terrorists, we have to kill 33,000 of them. Wait, they're not the terrorists, they're the children and the moms and stuff. Who cares? Kill them all because they're no good terrorists. They won't do anything peaceful, but they're doing something peaceful right now. They're applying through the UN just like you guys did. Shut them up, America. And that's exactly what America is doing. This is the secret cable. That's now I get to Ecuador. So America then goes and writes to Ecuador and says, remember that problem you had with Mexico and the embassy? Well, I would hate for that to be a continuing problem for you if you don't help us convince Japan, Korea, and Malta in the Security Council to vote against the Palestinians. So those are the kind of dirty tricks our government is doing to help Israel behind the scenes by threatening other foreign governments. Now, why are they bothering to make all this secret? Isn't it super obvious that America is going to cheat on behalf of Israel every single time? No, Joe Biden has a problem in Michigan, and he's losing Arab and Muslim voters in America. So all this is secret because they want to be able to say, and the cable explains, we don't want to have America veto this because that would embarrass Joe Biden because he said he was for 2 states and they would be the ones preventing 2 states. So Ecuador, pretend you're against it so we don't have to use our veto.